Welcome into the vault. This is your noonday lunch live stream. I am Sarah Ellison. Bobby Trossett, my regular co-host, is out on the West Coast. He's traveling again today. He may be traveling on his way back. But this should still be a great show because I do have a guest to come and help me break down predictions for the Ravens 53-man roster. We know that tomorrow at 4 p.m., all cuts need to be made. They need to be down to 53 by 4 p.m. And I believe some cuts have already been kind of coming through a little bit, some of the back end cuts that everybody could predict. And I will be bringing on Jason from Huddle It Up Films to go through all those predictions with me. Later, I'm going to talk about perhaps some false hope that media, national, local, all that kind of stuff may be given to Ravens fans on a major player who has requested a trade. So we'll get to that later. To Stephen A. Smith needed to be corrected on something about Lamar Jackson. Some AFC North news, lots to get to. But first, let's go ahead and bring in Jason from Huddle It Up Films. Jason, thank you so much for joining me. What is this, the third time we've done this together?
I want to say fourth because haven't you been on the air 3 years? So this would be the start of the fourth.
I've lost track. Listen, I'm bad at even keeping my wedding anniversary. My husband has to remind me. I'm terrible at the numbers. Is it the fourth? Okay.
I do remember I was your first guest, and you had just started maybe a month before that. So whenever I see these big stars come on in former Ravens, I'm like, yeah, I was the first guest.
Okay.
It's kind of fun.
I do remember you being the first guest. I just couldn't remember if it was three times or 4 times or whatever it is. But Jason, we finally got to see the final preseason game. We always appreciate what those games mean to a lot of players who are trying to make careers in the NFL, or maybe some people have made highlights for, that they can look back on forever. So it's important to them, but I am also happy that it is over. I am just counting down the days until week 1. But before we get there, we have to get this 53-man roster. And what's interesting is I finished my 53-man roster Saturday night after the final preseason game. You sent me your final 53-man roster on Sunday. I open it up, and for the first time, apparently, in 4 years, you and I have the exact same 53-man roster, which is kind of crazy because there's tough decisions to make. But I think what we can do to kind of spice this up, since we're in complete agreement, is maybe we'll talk about some of the struggles we had at different positions. Does that sound good to you?
Absolutely. And there are arguments to be made for other players. By no means is this a slam dunk. And this is the first time we've agreed.
Yep.
It may even be, Sarah, the first time we've been within 2. Like usually we have at least 1 disagreement, 2 disagreements, I meant.
Right.
So this is rare, but I feel like if you put the same people on the roster that I did, that there's a good case for all of those players. Just a really great roster all the way around for the Ravens.
All right, so let's kick this off with the quarterback room, which obviously is easy. Both you and I had Lamar Jackson and Cooper Rush, and obviously Devin Leary. I think we're both expecting him to still be around. I don't think he'll be picked up off of waivers based off of the way he's played. Anything more what are your thoughts on Cooper Rush specifically, and whether or not you feel like he's been an improvement just with what you've seen on film over Josh Johnson?
I think it's different. I think Cooper Rush hasn't shown that he can take care of the ball like we saw from Josh Johnson. But we also saw Josh Johnson in that last preseason game, and Cooper Rush was making some throws. The anticipation throws that Cooper Rush brings to the table is why he's a backup in the NFL and why he's stuck around for so long and why he was able to win games for Dallas. So there are strengths and weaknesses of both. If you look at it, Sarah, there are 4 top quarterbacks, in my opinion. Don't have to name them. And there are like 15 to 20 other guys who you can be confident about starting. So when you get to the backup range, I mean, man, you're just hoping to get there. They're all going to have strengths and weaknesses. And with Cooper Rush, not a strong arm, but an anticipatory thrower of the football and sliding the protections, doing all the things that you need him to do to not lose a game. And he can make that back shoulder throw to Anthony Miller. It was a really good throw in that last preseason game. So he got to show it off. Hopefully he gets more comfortable. And if we need him for a few games, he can hang in there with the rest of the roster the Ravens have. Maybe the defense steps up in those games. Derrick Henry steps up in those games, and we can win and stay right on track.
I agree. I mean, that 9-5 record as a starter holds weight with me. I do think that not only Cooper having to adjust to a new offense is part of this, but I think the players themselves, because as you said, Cooper Rush is an anticipatory thrower. Lamar Jackson traditionally has been like, I'm not throwing it until I see it open, and that's part of the reason why his interceptions. And the players are taught to extend the play just because Lamar Jackson has really two playability on every single play, right? And so offensive linemen, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, they all have to learn how to extend the play, but it's the complete opposite. They got to be right on with the timing for Cooper Rush. So it seems like both sides have to get on the same page. And meanwhile, just as a quick update, we are expecting Lamar Jackson to be at practice today. I believe that starts at about 1:00. We all know the last time we talked, Lamar had his foot stepped on, had a bit of a foot injury. John Harbaugh said it was sore. But after the game, he was asked if Lamar would return today. Kind of turned into a funny moment during that press conference.
Unless he doesn't want to. He is Lamar.
So he absolutely thinks that Lamar will return to practice today unless Lamar has other plans. And John Harbaugh showing some what do you want to say? Respect to Lamar and say, hey, he gets a big say in this himself. But let's move on to running backs. Why don't you run through the guys that you decided to keep?
Sure. All four on the screen: Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell, Rasheen Ali. And the big question here, of course, was whether we were going to keep four running backs or just the top three. And, in the end, Sarah, I look at Rasheen Ali as a core special teams player. So all four units, he can contribute in that. And then more importantly, I think the new kickoff rules really solidified Rasheen Ali's place on this roster. Because if you think about 10 years ago when the kicker was kicking the ball from a further distance, you could have just one guy back there, Jacoby Jones, whoever it was, had plenty of time to get under the ball wherever it was kicked and make a return. Now with the field condensed and we're seeing kickers play around with the squib kicks and these little funny kicks, you have Keaton Mitchell. You need two guys back there. So you have Keaton Mitchell on one side and Rasheen Ali on the other. And it would not surprise me, Sarah, if Rasheen Ali has more kick returns than Mitchell, because if I'm the other team, I'm not kicking it to Keaton based on his explosiveness. So the importance of being able to make those decisions by the goal line, by the sideline, on the kick returns. And then when Keaton does return the ball, Rasheen Ali, of course, we saw acting as his fullback, as his lead blocker on those kick returns. So I think that is what's going through the Ravens' mind when they decide to, if they decide to keep four running backs, is that, look, Rasheen Ali can make himself useful on game days as a core special teamer and a starting returner. There are two starting returners now.
Exactly. What's interesting, Jason, when Rasheen Ali ran in for his touchdown in that preseason game, I tweeted that, he deserves to be on a 53-man roster. And I was a little bit surprised by not just, there's always like a few people that disagree with almost anything you put out, but I was a little bit surprised by the quantity of people who disagreed. And their argument was like, why would we keep four running backs when we have other positions of need? And so obviously this is a decision not made for the running back position, right? You can make the same argument if they kept a fifth inside linebacker. Like, realistically, is that fifth inside linebacker going to get any snaps on defense? Or you can keep 7 cornerbacks, which I think we both have doing, or you could keep 5 safeties. And those 7 fifth or fourth guys, depending on which position, none of them are really going to play unless there's mounting injuries. So they're all in the same boat as Rasheen Ali. And so what you got to do when you're making these last, 3 position decisions, it's all on special teams. So you got to go look, if you have access to PFF, to look at the snap counts there. Rasheen Ali has plenty. On top of it, John Harbaugh said 2 times in a row, he didn't even make this a decision for us. He kind of announced it 2 weeks in a row. He said Rasheen Ali is going to be on the 53-man roster, but he got more in depth on Saturday saying, I think he's proven to be a good back in the preseason. And then he's a big part of special teams right now. He's starting on every special teams right now, John Harbaugh said. So something would have to change for that not to be the case. So dynamic kickoff returner. He's on the punt team. he's on the punt return team, he's on the kickoff team. Like, he's on all of them. And so that's why he's in. And if they happen to have injuries at running back, sure, they have that depth, but it's all special teams. And he's in the same boat as anybody else who's the final guy at their position.
Well said.
Let's move on to wide receiver. Do you want to take us through these 6 that you have?
Sure. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. Obviously, they are going to be out there more than anybody, given health. And then you have DeAndre Hopkins. I love how you have Tylan Wallace listed 4th there. What a player, Tylan Wallace. And now he is officially a Raven for life type player with the contract that he signed. It's just a beautiful story. Devontae Walker flashing in the preseason, getting a chance to run different routes, showing off the comeback routes and the hitches and curls, and really has improved his footwork, Sarah. I want to say from what we've been privy to see, probably the most improved player from year 1 to year 2, in my opinion, just cleaning up that footwork. And now it gives him extra space to run those deep routes because corners have to respect him as a better route runner. And then LeJohntay Wester, it's just great to have his explosiveness. Now, he was a guy I could have saw on kickoffs because I know they prefer running backs, but LeJohntay's vision and just ability to improv and, to run through and make somebody miss in small spaces. LeJohntay just is a pure football player. I love what I've seen from him. So for a change, Sarah, if a wide receiver is cut from another team, most of our fans can look at this list and see the upside and the depth. A really good group of receivers for the Ravens, and look for certain guys to emerge maybe early in the year with likely probably missing a couple of games. Maybe you see more DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe you see some Tez Walker out there on the field and more 3 receiver sets, more 11 personnel.
What's interesting to me, Jason, as we look at this list, 5 of these 6 players were drafted by the Ravens, and you feel good about the group. Like, having those 2 things simultaneously has not been the Ravens' history. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace, Devontae Walker, LeJohntay Wester, all of them drafted by Eric DeCosta, and I think he's done a solid job of turning around the wide receiver narrative. Obviously, he hasn't gotten he's got a Pro Bowler now in Zay Flowers. He may not be at the All-Pro level or anything like that, or maybe outside the top 10, but this is a solid wide receiver group. DeAndre Hopkins, the only one that's added from outside. And that's the way the Ravens roster looks almost everywhere else. It's always like you have almost fully the guys you drafted with a little bit of a supplementary player from the outside. And so I'm glad to see that Eric DeCosta has gotten this group turned around. Still could do better, but not a bad place to be right now. And how about let's start. We're going to go to the offensive line, but we'll just start with the tackles. We both have 4 tackles here.
Ronnie Stanley, Roger Rosengarten, really nice starting 2. You hope Ronnie Stanley is someone who's on the other side of 30, but he's still getting healthier. And, he went through a really rough stretch of brutal injury. You hope that he can maintain his level of play. I think you would say that for any player over 30. And then Roger Rosengarten coming into his 2nd year, you hope that he takes the next step. Maybe it improves as a run blocker. Maybe he gets more reps, Sarah, where they don't chip on his side and can send an extra receiver into the route tree. So, great pair of starting tackles. Joseph Noteboom, up and down, I would say, through the preseason. The good part is he can play left tackle and right tackle. And Carson Vincent brings a smile to my face, just the way he's played. I mean, this guy, it looks like you could put him at any offensive line position because of his physicality and his ability to move people. Of course, you want him to play left tackle. He could be the left tackle of the future, and that's 100 times more valuable than anywhere else. But a lot of these tackles, Sarah, it's all pass blocking and no run blocking. And Carson Vincent, he has the skills of a 5-star player that came out of the SEC, and he has that hunger of like an undrafted free agent. So maybe he doesn't get to play. I think optimally he doesn't get to play a lot this year. We want Ronnie and Roger out there as much as we can. And if something were to happen to one of those 2, I would expect the coaches to go to Noteboom, the veteran. But Carson Vincent really stood out among this group in the preseason. He got to play a ton. I think he played start to finish the last game and really showed well for himself, much better than you can expect from someone coming from a small school all the way to the NFL. So the arrow is definitely pointing up on Vincent.
Way ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule. But I think we both agree probably still a year out before playing time. But here's my question to you. With your scout's eye, and I don't know if people remember your draft boards and all that kind of stuff, you legit look at film. You've thought about getting into scouting, so you've got a scout's eye. In your opinion, just knowing that Ronnie Stanley and Roger Rosengarten, if things are trending the way they are, they're still going to be under contract. They're still going to be here. You have 2 solid starters, and the idea is to get your best 5. You just mentioned Carson Vincent could play other positions. Could you see him battling for a guard position?
If they wanted him to, yes, but I don't think that they want him to. I think it's probably the right thing to do to let him develop at a left tackle because, again, they're so hard to find.
You're right.
And, you took him as a 5th round pick with the expectation that he probably wasn't going to play this much. But, man, you watch him on some of these run blocking assignments and just the way he's able to leverage and his natural strength, Sarah, it's a core country strong strength. It's not like he looks like a bodybuilder, but he can't move. He's all stiff. He's got that core strength, and his hands are as strong. I mean, it's a vice grip for hands. So, he won't play guard this year. I tweeted out something that Carson Vincent looks like he could play guard right now, and I got a lot of flack for that, saying, "Well, he's not going to play guard." They in love with it. Turned into a foul late discussion, of course, as it tends to. Not saying that. I'm just saying, Sarah. Look, how often do late round project type players developmental players work out at left tackle? It's a low percentage, right? So what I'm saying is if Carson Vincent, it turns out maybe left tackle isn't his spot, I believe there's a fallback plan for him. Is with a lot of these tackles, they're tackles only. They're too light. Things move too quick. They're not strong enough. They don't have the center of gravity. But Carson Vincent, for a guy who's 6'6", 6'7", he gets the leverage in there like a much shorter player. And just is able to move body. So not enough good things to say about from what we've seen from Carson Vincent. It just didn't look too big for him in there.
Well, you talked about it, him just punishing people. Let's show some of the viewers. I've got this film breakdown, just a couple of minutes from Brian Baldinger. I'm sure you've seen this, but Baldy is always one of the best to break these down. Here we go.
Let's look at the Ravens' 5th round pick from Alabama A&M, Carson Vincent, number 71, working with Ben Cleveland right here. Like, this is what I saw him do all day. Just drill commanders into the turf, into their own turf, eating their grass seed. You watch one play after another. Look at the aiming point here. Look at how low he is hitting the hip. You hit the hip, you move the body, and he moves the bodies. He moves them from one side of the field to the other side of the field, puts them right on his stuff. Like, this is an impressive performance. He played every single snap of this game right here. Like, you watch his drive blocking right here. Like, bam, touchdown run up the middle. His drive blocking was good. This guy is vastly improving. Now, here he is against Cleveland Farrell. His wingspan was 85 inches. Like, one of the longest in the entire NFL draft. His wingspan is the same as LeBron James, and he knows how to use it. He's learning how to use it. Like, just watch him play to play right here. Like, this is excellent. Like, there he is. Like, he's sitting in the chair, and watch him dancing, moving his feet. Like, take him around the arc right there, one time after another. He played 65 snaps. You watch him down here in the goal line right here. Let's watch the power that he has. Watch what he does to these guys. Bam. He takes them to the mat. He finishes. It's pretty good. No penalties, 65 snaps. Look at this right here. Watch him. Okay, all right. Dropped the anchor a little bit late, but still got the ball off just in time. Watch him just chase this linebacker from one side of the field to the other side of the field. That's one push. He's not done. Damn. There's just something about that.
That's that hunger. That's that hunger.
That hunger that you're talking about. Yeah, it's like, oh, you love an offensive lineman that likes to punish people, that just never stops, keeps playing to the whistle, knocks you on your butt, pancakes you, all of it.
And he had 4 pancakes in the Dallas game the week before too. So this isn't a one year wonder. One hit. What was the one song? What's the
one hit wonder?
This isn't a one hit wonder.
Yeah,
he's been doing it all preseason. Now you see some of the hand placement issues, a little bit of a hugger, a little bit of off time sometimes with his hands, but that's stuff that can be coached up. The LeBron James wingspan is an interesting fact there from
I
Baldy.
did not know that either.
And I mean, again, if you look at him, he doesn't look like a Greek god like some of these guys that come out. He is just naturally strong, and you saw his ability to bend, get low, leverage. Just a lot of great things to say about Carson Vincent. Let's hope next year we start to see him a little bit more. But for this year, Ronnie, Roger, stay healthy. It's one of the best offensive tackle tandems in the NFL.
All right, so let's go to offensive guard. We've got 5 here. We've got Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Fa'alele, Andrew Voorhees. Those are your 3 starters. And then Ben Cleveland and Corey Bullock. What stands out to you most here?
Well, I want to tie this into Rasheen Ali and the running backs just for a moment, because those who wanted to go with 3 running backs point to, hey, Carson Vincent's a little bit raw, green. You're going to have to carry him on the roster, but he may not be active on game days. And they would have assigned that spot to this spot right here, the guard center. I have the same 5 as you, because I believe that Garrett Dillinger, we saw him play late. He was running with the 3rd team. He was running behind Darian Dalcourt. So you have Nick Samac, Darian Dalcourt, Garrett Dillinger. And I feel like the Ravens think that they can get those guys through to the practice squad. And Sarah, even if one of those guys were claimed, they would have a player of almost the same quality who wasn't claimed. So, to me, I think that obviously Fa'alele is a hot button issue. Tyler Linderbaum looking for a contract. Andrew Voorhees, you just have to hope he stays healthy, because, man, his tape looks super clean in the preseason. Voorhees, no mistakes. Yeah, I'm sure that the coaches can pick on footwork or pick on, but no missed blocks. And then Ben Cleveland. Shout out to Corey Bullock, though. He made me go back, Sarah, and watch tape of his senior season at the University of Maryland. I watched the Ohio State game. And what I came away with was there were no weaknesses in his game and no super strengths in his game. So is he strong? Yeah, he's strong enough, but not super strong. Is he mobile? Yeah, well, he's kind of mobile. He's not a statue out there. Is his hand placement good? Looks pretty good to me. Could get better, but it was just a super smart, super pro type performance. And when you move these guys into center, really it's what's about above the shoulder pads, the mind, because you have 2 guards next to you. You have 5 guys on the offensive line. Most of the time, 4 guys are rushing. So that center both gives and receives a lot of help. So calling out the protections, being on the same page with your quarterback, all the football IQ stuff, Corey Bullock seems to have it, and that bodes well for his future in the NFL.
That's great to hear from him. And if he does end up making it, even though he's in his 2nd year, he was undrafted. And so you and I have technically 3 undrafted guys making the 53-man roster, although 1 from last year and 2 from this year. We'll get to the 2 that we're getting to. But I was with you. I was really wrestling with Garrett Dillinger because he was a draft pick. I get that it's the 7th round. But just yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles traded what did they trade? A 7th round pick for tackle Fred Johnson. And he's going to be their likely swing tackle, backup swing tackle. And it's like, even the Eagles, who draft well, are out there looking for offensive linemen because they're hard to find. And so if John Harbaugh hadn't given us clues in the press conferences where he said they were going to keep 9 offensive linemen and he for sure was keeping Rasheen Ali, I was wrestling before that of keeping Garrett over whether it's Rasheen or one of the other 2 undrafted guys that we both have coming later on. But like at the end of the day, because he gave those clues, I was like, all right, well, that's where Harbaugh's at. So I'm going to make a prediction based off the clues he's given. But I really hope, I don't have strong hopes that he's going to make it to the waiver wire. I don't, just because offensive linemen are hard to come by. And he was a draft pick.
Yeah,
he's got the pedigree of LSU. So I'm not holding my breath that he's going to make it to the practice squad.
His story is much like Andrew Voorhees when you're talking about injury history throughout college, but playing for a major Power 5 or Power 4 now university, tape being good, probably would have been a higher draft pick. He had tightrope surgery, which is on your ankle in the off season. So a lot of questions surrounding Dillinger's, health and durability coming out of the draft, but you have to go by the clues, like you said, Sarah. If he's running behind Darian Dalcourt in the 3rd preseason game and closing that thing out, that tells us pretty much all we need to know. And I think that, if Harbaugh hadn't given the clues, Sarah, I was already leaning towards Ali because of the special teams factor that we talked about extensively at the beginning, and because, like I said, I don't see much of it. Like Bullock can play guard if you needed him to. You have Mack on the practice squad, or if you like Dalcourt almost as much as you like Dillinger or a little more, it's not that much big separation of talent in there with there. And Ben Cleveland, maybe he's a surprise cut, but I doubt it. I think that they would keep Cleveland over Dillinger, even though you have 4 years of Dillinger, only 1 year of Ben Cleveland, just for that veteran presence. And we've seen that Ben can play left guard, right guard, and also in an emergency right tackle. So and center. And center.
Yes,
right.
He's ready to be the depth piece at several places for sure. Jason, I forgot to make a slide for tight end because I think it was so obvious, but we both had Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Charlie, and then we put Pat Ricard as like the fourth as like a tight end / fullback. I'm assuming we both agree that the Ravens are hoping to get Isaiah Likely back before the first 4 weeks of the season end, which they wouldn't be able to use him if they put him on IR beforehand. So I assume we don't need to spend a ton of time there. Is that kind of your thought process too, that Isaiah should be able to get back within the first 4 weeks?
Well, I think even more than that, Harbaugh likes the idea of playing possum. I think knowing Harbaugh, just the threat of Isaiah Likely. But the way I'm looking at it, let's just assume he misses the first 2 weeks against Buffalo and Cleveland. That week 3 game is against Detroit. That week 4 game is against Kansas City. 2 huge games. Like if you can just get Isaiah Likely back for the Kansas City game, I feel like it's worth it. And then the other thing is it's the beginning of the season, Sarah. So it's not like a beat up roster going into this next 4 game stretch. We're going to have healthy scratches, healthy inactives on game day. So I think
he can easily be one.
He could easily be one. So we don't know, obviously we don't know. And maybe Likely's not doing well and could be placed on IR tomorrow. We would have no idea. But hopefully, optimistically, he's back for at least 1 or 2 of those first 4 games.
Jason, before we flip over to the defensive side, do you mind if we go over some super chats together?
Please. Hey, got to give love out there. This is just great. Hey,
you're on YouTube too, so you get it. You may know Douglas H. Brown Sr. He always, before we even come on, gives us a couple of gifts for membership. So thank you, Douglas, for giving out those gifts. And he followed up with this $10 super chat. He says, Sarah, I will unfortunately be in the field today and will view later, but I wanted to send my love and support. This is what he does every day. Every day. Thank you, Douglas. You have no idea how much we appreciate you. At WT Edit says, we'll be having my first class during the stream, but we'll catch it after. Have a great stream and day, Sarah, Uncle Bobby, and Voltron. See, people who can't even be here, they're still sending us love before they're gone. And here's at WT Edits again. He said, just remembered Bobby's not joining. LOL. But can't wait to listen to the pod with Sarah later today. Have a day, Sarah, and Voltrons. I'm sure he didn't know at the time, but also I'm sure he'd wish you love too, Jason. We've got at Lewis Spike Loser. He says, happy draft day for those Voltrons engaging tonight for our fantasy football draft. In my Bart Scott voice, can't wait. Okay, so I'm not on Discord. We have a Discord, Jason. I'm assuming Lewis is saying that like there's a Vault-specific group who are doing a fantasy draft tonight. That's awesome.
That's great. Now, I can't say that my channel members have started one of those, but I would be down for one of those because the trash talk behind the scenes gets really good. Had my first fantasy draft last night. I do 2 leagues now. Have one on Saturday. So it's kind of fun. One of my keepers was Derrick Henry. I just can't help it. I think he's going to have another monster season. So I kept him as my first round pick.
How could you not with Lamar right there? I mean, if he drops off, it's not going to be that much. It's Derrick and Lamar.
He's going to have 15 plus touchdowns again. Watch.
Oh, I hope that's true both for the Ravens' sake and your sake in fantasy football. I haven't done fantasy in years. I find that you need to be quick on waivers when there's injuries and stuff like that. And I was never quick enough.
Well, they changed that, Sarah. Now there's a waiver wire that you get 2 days to claim the waivers. And on Wednesday, and there's a waiver order, just like in the NFL. So if you claim somebody, you move to the back. You're the last person. But you don't have. Remember on Sundays you used to have to sit by the TV.
Yes.
Running back goes down. Holy moly! I got to pick up his backup. That's not a thing anymore. We've evolved.
Good. I told you it's been years, so I don't know how long ago they changed that, but it's a welcome change on my end. At Eric, oh, this is our firefighter. I don't know if you've seen him around. He's awesome. Eric gifted 5 memberships. I got to look at where we're at. I know we were closing in on 700 last time I checked. So thank you, Eric. Really appreciate that. And at Fantasy is Reality. Hey, Sarah. Sarah, I have a feeling Shador Sanders will get cut. So let's release Leary and snatch him up before Las Vegas grabs him because they've lost their backup. Jason, I don't know if you know this. On the 3rd day of the draft, was a proponent of the Ravens picking Shador Sanders. I was like, shoot, if he's going to drop this far, I feel like he was somebody who could be a backup. So as much as, listen, the Ravens are going to cut Leary regardless, and he'll be around for the practice squad. But I don't believe that the Browns are going to cut Shador Sanders.
I don't either. It's just an odd situation. I just feel like we're not privy to too much because on the tape, I thought he was a first-round pick. That's all I can say. I understand the interviews went a certain way, supposedly, and there's some backroom stuff supposedly happening. And I kind of lean towards there's some backroom stuff supposedly happening because his tape is worth somebody to give a shot to. I think he holds the ball too long. If I want to dig into his weaknesses, hold the ball, takes a little too many sacks, but he is a gritty player. I was hoping the Steelers did not get him because he seems to fit Pittsburgh's MO of like, oh, the Ravens should win this game easy. And then it's just some pain in the butt things that happens. Like Shador's a pain in the butt to play when he was playing in college.
I've actually got a little bit more to say on that later on. I've got a little section on him. So I just want to say I agree with you and your analysis on that. At King Sosa 402 says, my cousin is a Lions fan. Our wives just bought us tickets to the week 4 game.
Week 3.
Isn't that week 4 though? No, you're right. KC is week 4.
Right, okay. At KC. So it would have to be the Lions game week 3 at home.
Yep, week 3. He says, my first ever game coming all the way from Omaha. What gate PHP? So he has the peace sign and a heart emoji. What he's talking about here is we have Park Heights Prophet who comes in a lot, and he is holding a tailgate for that Detroit Lions Ravens game, and he's trying to get as many Voltrons there as possible. So PHP, let King Sosa know. Well, that's great. That's awesome that your wives did that for you guys.
I mean, there's nothing like a night game at the bank. I would suggest, everybody, if they can, to go to one. And even if there's somebody in your family, like maybe your son or your friend is not really into football that much, the experience itself, Sarah, is something else. It's like a rock concert out there at night.
I think I skipped a couple here. Hold on a second. Bobby, draft Voltrons. Okay. Here we go. I skipped this one. Sod Blitz says, just crossed the Bay Bridge on my way to Ocean City, Maryland for a week. How fun. Good for you.
Yep.
Have a blast for Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully
I think this is the last week of the quote unquote summer for them. After September, it becomes dog friendly and things slow down, school's back in session. So that should be a great time, Sod Blitz.
Okay, let's see here. We're back with Eric, the firefighter. Says, good morning, everyone. I pray and hope everyone has a blessed, safe, and productive week. In case no one tells you they love you, just know I do. The Ravens will be fine this year. Hashtag 20-0, hashtag 6K for LJ, and hashtag I believe. This is a person who backs up what he says. He talks about love, all that. He puts his life on the line every day for others. Just saw that one. Okay, we're back to it's Rave Kingdom. Hey, I've got a question for you, Jason. On our channel, they've switched everybody from their display names to their @handle names. Has that happened to you yet?
It has. And yes, I recognize Rave Kingdom there. I'm not afraid to call you Big Sexy. It's all good. Yeah. But, Sarah might be afraid. I ain't scared. But, Ben Cleveland, he's the kind of guy, Sarah, that he could wake up out of bed and play, I feel like, hey, Ben, get in there. Wake up. All right. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing. And, you played sports. I know you were a hooper, Sarah. You ever played with someone or coached, kids where practice just wasn't their thing? And
yes,
it was just like kind of, but once the game started, they were in there and fully engaged and did well.
They're gamers.
This is kind of how I'm seeing gamers. This is kind of how I'm seeing Mr. Cleveland. And, I think that he needs, if he wants to be a starter in this league, he's going to have to improve in the meeting room probably where we can't see him and on the practice field. But that's kind of my impression because anytime I've watched him on tape, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. He had the one incident. But game to game, like the last time he started for Kevin Zeitler in 2023, I think he was the highest rated guard that week. And, that my film study backed that up.
That's great. I'm sure that is music to Rave Kingdom's ears. Maggie Litz becomes a member. I thought you already were one. Maybe you're just renewing. Let's see more from Rave Kingdom. He says, huddle to you, Jason. He said, hashtag Ben Cleveland. Please tell Sarah Ben Cleveland film is better than Fa'alele, please. You don't need to tell me that. The only place that me and Rave Kingdom disagree is that he thinks that John Harbaugh puts his ego above winning. That's where we disagree. But I've seen the game tape, and I agree that Cleveland's has a bit better game tape. But obviously, in John Harbaugh's world, you need to do more than that. And I also think that they believe Fa'alele has a bigger upside. So if they feel like Ben might have slightly better game tape but doesn't practice well, and maybe has a lower ceiling than Fa'alele, that's probably why they're choosing Fa'alele. But I already know about the film unless you want to add upon it, Jason.
No, I just want to say that, with Fa'alele, my issue, it's a preference. It's that I want, with Lamar and Derrick Henry, I want a right guard who can execute every type of run block there is. Fa'alele is great at down blocks, but when you're asking him to climb to level 2 outside zone without getting into a bunch of technical stuff, he's limited. And I think that what he's doing to compensate for that, Sarah, is getting off the snap quicker. I noticed that this preseason, it looks like he's an edge rusher jumping the snap. So Fa'alele is super conscious of not getting beat quite, right away. But as a pass blocker, what I can say positive about Daniel is when he wins, boy, does he win. Like there's been many times, the edge rushers are burning the edges and Daniel Fa'alele is just stonewalling someone near the line of scrimmage. So Lamar has time to step up in Fa'alele's spot and throw. So big wins, not so great losses for Fa'alele. Wouldn't be my choice of style of a player at right guard, but the Ravens are going to ride with him and I'm rooting for him with everything I have.
Gotta hope he does well. Otherwise Lamar's in trouble and everybody else is in trouble.
That's Don C. I know Don C.
I was going to say, what is his regular name? This at Gazillion Sevens B-Man. Okay, Don C. He says, Sarah and Jason making Mondays better around Baltimore. Much love to you both and my extended YouTube chat family. Football is family. That's your tagline, correct?
That is correct. And Don C, I always say it's the D-O-N to the C, bro. Call him Don C. Got more game than Kaliko.
Oh.
That's his tag, right? He deserves it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Rave
I
Kingdom.
liked how you were able to rattle it off there. And obviously Rave Kingdom happy that you remember him. Huddle remembers me. And I love that they just call you Huddle. I feel like I need to call you that now. And finally, says Douglas H. Brown did make it in. Okay, so Douglas is here. You guys are so good about recognizing supporters.
Tell him to stop pulling the football out on Lucy. That's not right.
Oh, wait, hold on. We got one more just in. Chris Dixon says, just showing love to my Vault family. Thank you for the 3 months membership, but you guys have to give me a chance to pay. Oh, because people keep giving gifts, so he's getting them for free over and over again.
It's funny. I'm not going to call this person out, but there was gifted memberships on my channel, and one of the names rung a bell. Is all I'm going to say.
Oh,
so somebody got caught lurking, watching the Huddled Up film show, and I got a kick out of it, and I'm not going to call it out. But it was funny when because the memberships go randomly to anybody who's watching.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, we won't call them out, but we will call out. We will call out who will make this defensive line. We got 5 players each. Tell us who you got here.
Okay, Nnamdi Madubuike, worth his money. I think he faced the 3rd most double teams last year. Was still able to come down with 6.5 sacks. Let's see if he can beat some of those double teams and learn something from last year. Travis Jones deserves all the talk that he's getting. Just needs to stay healthy and put it all together. Seems like every year there's been a little bit of something, nicks and bruises with Travis to keep him from reaching the ceiling. Broderick Washington, solid as a rock. Aeneas Peebles, my goodness, has he gotten a lot of attention on my channel at least. I'm sure probably the same thing here. But he gives the Ravens something that they don't have. Just extremely active. And Sarah, I've just been so impressed with his effort versus the run. Sarah, playing sports, it's like you know what your strengths are and you know what your weaknesses are. And Aeneas Peoples seems very conscious of the fact that he's 6 foot underweight for a defensive tackle, and he's really conscious of his leverage. And he is a fighter, and his eyes are good. So it looked like he was a man on the mission this preseason to prove, yeah, I can hold up against the run. I feel that center coming for a double team, and I'm going to get as low as I can, try to fit in between the creases and really hold my ground and prove that I'm a 3-down player. So I love the attitude I saw from Aeneas Peoples. And then, of course, on the pass rush, Sarah, I'm really excited for what he can bring to the Ravens this year on twists and stunts. Now, think about how quickly he gets off. If you want him on the front end of a stunt, how quickly he gets off the line of scrimmage and is able to split 2 people. You have to block Aeneas with half a body. Or how quick he is looping around. For a defensive tackle, you would kind of trust him to loop around to that right side and keep a quarterback like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes from rolling right. Matabike and Van Noy, they're like peanut butter and jelly on their stunts. They seem to know each other so well. I can't wait to see Aeneas Peoples working more with the first team and building that chemistry on those games. And then lastly, John Jenkins, again, this is one of those playing time issues. CJ Okoye, I'm going to let you go ahead and speak on him and how great his upside is. And if we lose Okoye to the practice squad, I will be upset. But I understand where the Ravens are coming from here, Sarah, because, again, you look at those first 4 games, they're so important. You look at Buffalo, the number 1 run blocking O-line from last year. Cleveland, one of the few strengths of their team is that veteran O-line. Detroit, you know what style Dan Campbell wants to play. And then Kansas City Chief with Humphrey and Trey Smith on the inside. Excuse me. Physical interior offensive lines in big games early on. Do you trust the guy who has never played in an NFL game before, who didn't play college ball, or do you trust the veteran John Jenkins, the 13-year vet? So I think they keep John Jenkins off the strength of that alone. And Okoye did spend the last year plus on the Chargers practice squad before the Ravens claimed him. So I'm guessing the Ravens think they can get him through.
Well, I hope they can. I hope they can. I was thinking of him and CJ Ravenel, I thought played pretty decently. There was a part of me that toyed with trying to put John Jenkins in the same bucket as Brent Urban. I think we're both thinking that Brent Urban will go ahead and sign as a practice squad because he's a vested veteran. He doesn't have to go through the waiver claims. And so I was like, would they also do that with John Jenkins? But I was like, I don't know that they have that relationship. Like they drafted Brent Urban. They've been doing this for years. John Jenkins, I could see being like, peace out. Like you're going to play with me like that. I'm not doing that. But there was a part of me that wanted to play with that to try to get CJ Okoye on here. But alas, I think we were both on the same page that you got to give it to the veteran. And like you said, you got to come out starting strong with these first few games. But listen, you're here as a visitor and definitely have better film breakdown than me. I mean, you're huddled up films. That's not what me and Bobby, we dabble in it, but this is like your life. So you tell me, can you break down what you like about CJ Okoye so much?
Yeah, he's just a physical presence. Like he's listed at 6'6", 370, and I kind of believe it. And it's not, again, this isn't a sloppy-bodied individual when he's out there. He's just a monstrous-looking first guy off the bus kind of guy. And he has his down moments in this game. He played from like the first quarter into the fourth quarter this past game, where Jenkins was given the starter treatment and resting. So that to me said that the Ravens were keeping Jenkins. But the way Okoye was able to manhandle some of these interior offensive linemen and guys that came out of the draft where the reason they're in the NFL is their strength, and he is just extending on them like it's no business. Their necks all tilted back and all that stuff. The raw strength, power, size is something you can't teach. And, again, a raw product coming from Nigeria, finding his way to the NFL, did not play college ball, was out there in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Man, I could see the Chargers wanting him back. I could definitely see him getting claimed. So this is one of these situations, Sarah, in which maybe I wouldn't go with Jenkins. Maybe if it was up to me, I would just go with Okoye and say, look, Travis Jones is a monster where he's going to play a lot of snaps. We had the number 1 run defense last year, like backup nose tackle. We got 4 years of Okoye or 3, and John Jenkins is gone after this year. This is one of those ones where it's like my own personal preference over what I think the Ravens will do. I think the Ravens keep Jenkins. They gave us that sign by the 4th preseason game.
Speaking of things that you would personally do versus what you think the Ravens would do, I think that's where I'm kind of feeling when it comes to the edge room. So we both had Odafe Owe, Kyle Van Noy, Tavius Robinson, Mike Green, and David Ajabo making the team. And I think David Ajabo was probably saved a little bit with Adisa Isaac's injury. So now he's probably going to have to start on injured reserve. And he's like one of the people that could probably be designated to return. So he doesn't need to make the roster at first. They don't have enough injuries I think they get 2 of those. So I definitely think he'll get 1. And so in my mind, I was already, before his injury, I was already bracing to move on from David Ajabo. And so once he was injured, my thought was, well, I'm still not back on the David Ajabo bandwagon yet. Like he definitely had, he had a sack unblocked, and then he had a tackle in the backfield. Was it this last weekend that was also unblocked? And so it was like, and then he delivered, like he hit him hard. But I just haven't seen enough from him to create pressure more on his own. And so he was one I flirted with, being like, okay, well, maybe I can keep a CJ Okoye or another one of the undrafted rookies. And I was like willing, because David's going into his 4th and final rookie year contract of his final year of his rookie contract. Finally got that out. And I was like, could they be fine with 4 with Odafe, Kyle Van Noy, Tavius, and Mike Green? But I just feel like the Ravens feel like they've invested so much into him and they still like him that I went ahead and put him on the team, even though I might have taken him off for one of these other guys I mentioned.
I think you said that great. That was a great point and great perspective there. 4 just seems a little light, doesn't it? Just seems a little light. Doesn't seem like the Ravens, something the Ravens would do. But I have to agree with you. If it comes down to in the future Adisa Isaac or Ajabo, the Ravens are going to keep Adisa Isaac over Ajabo, because even after this year, you have 2 more years of Adisa Isaac. He was a 3rd round pick himself. And with Ajabo, I did a cut up of his week 1 and have been watching him throughout the preseason since then, of course. But it's not that he's played poorly and he's had those splash plays, as you mentioned. But what I fell in love with him coming out of college, that explosiveness, that just rare pass rushing, just a monster coming off the edge, just super quick as a cat. It seems like a lot of that has been sapped by injury, which just breaks my heart. So I don't think Ajabo's playing poorly. It's just not the player that you were getting out of Michigan. And even after he came back the first time after his an injury in college, he looked good. He looked really good. After this last string of injuries coming back, it's a lot of contain rush they're asking him to do on the strong side. So he's not really getting a chance to burn the edge, but the chances that he's had, I just don't see that cat-like quickness from Ajabo that I fell in love with out of Michigan.
Okay, going to inside linebacker. I know there were some decisions to be made here. We both went with obviously Roquan Smith. Trenton Simpson seems to have won the job. I think there was a little bit of competition with Teddy Buchanan. I guess maybe even Jake Hummel, but he was more brought here for special teams. So Trenton Simpson, Jake Hummel, and then obviously the draft pick and Teddy Buchanan. We both opted not to put on Jay Higgins, who definitely was a preseason star, who definitely always seemed to be making splash plays, but we both just didn't find room for him. What was your thinking on it?
Josh Ross. Josh Ross was my thinking, if you remember him from a couple of years ago.
I do, but elaborate.
Well, and Chandler Martin too. Higgins was the last guy that I left off, and I'm sure there are plenty of fans that would have Higgins on their roster, and he may be on that roster at 4:00 tomorrow. It would not surprise me. But there's another guy that we will get to later that I just think plays a more important position, at a position that the Ravens could use some depth, and I kept him over Jay Higgins. What gives me hope that Higgins can make it to the practice squad is Josh Ross. If you remember him coming out of Michigan, veteran productive linebacker out of Michigan, and the Ravens were able to keep him on the practice squad for, I believe, 2 years before he's gone now. Maybe he is in LA with Jim now. But yes, and then Chandler Martin played really, really well. But if you look at this group, Roquan is in the prime. I think he's still like 27, 28 years old, maybe not even that. He's super young. Trenton Simpson young, Teddy Buchanan young. So they have youth at the position. They have team control with Roquan's contract, Trenton and Teddy Buchanan. And, Jay Higgins running a 4.82, I believe it was, at a combine. It doesn't matter to me as much because the guy is super instinctive. Higgins is always in the right place. There's cut up of him on my channel that did really well. People notice the pure linebacking chops of Jay Higgins, pressing the line of scrimmage, scraping the line of scrimmage, always being in the right place. He's not big and strong. He's not fast. He's only 6 foot tall. And I think the Ravens are banking on the NFL being like, well, we have our own linebackers that have been in the building working chemistry. We don't need to claim Jay Higgins from the Ravens, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes. It wouldn't surprise me if he's claimed. It wouldn't surprise me if he makes the roster. A lot of great things about Jay Higgins. There's just another guy we'll talk about later that we decided to go with over him.
Yeah, and I think what also kind of impacted me is that my impression is the Ravens like both Jay Higgins and, like you mentioned, Chandler Martin. And so I feel like they are like, you know what, we should be able to get back one of them. You know what I mean? As a linebacker and then maybe a special teams kind of guy. So I think that because there were two of them, even though Chandler Martin did not stand out on defense the way Jay Higgins did, not even close. I still feel like from a special team standpoint, my impression is they were impressed with both. And so they're like, okay, well, we'll take our chances where they didn't want to take chances, perhaps, at least in our mind, elsewhere, which is at cornerback. Both you and I had Marlon Humphrey, obviously, Nate Wiggins, Jair Alexander, Chidobe Awuzie, Jalen Armour-Davis, TJ Tampa, and both Jalen had a preseason that he needed. He was healthy. He made plays. He was on the bubble. I think he played himself on to the team. TJ Tampa had some good moments. And then there was Keon Martin. This is the guy you were referring to before that it was like, had to give it to Keon. The 7 is a lot of corners, but they need it. Chidobe and Jair seem to constantly be nursing injuries. So it seems like they need more depth. And then Keon, he just is, it's like every time you like blink, you like open your eyes and there he is making another play. He just had an outstanding preseason. And I think he contributes on special teams. So I think for this undrafted rookie free agent was a no-brainer for me. What about you?
And he had to go through a rookie tryout too. Just a tremendous story out of Louisiana Lafayette. A lot reminds me a lot of Tavon Young. That's the guy that, or the Raven that he reminds me of. But yeah, I mean, Jair may need some maintenance on that knee from time to time during the regular season. Awuzie, Jalen Armour-Davis, there's injury history there with both of those players. So Keon Martin, he did everything that the Ravens asked their nickel corner to do. You're talking about blitzing. Yeah, not only did I do it, I got the sack safety on it. Supporting the run, one of the first cut up I did this week, you can see the way he's conscious of setting the edge and just fights his butt off in the run game, making tackles for loss. You see his eye balance on that interception. I mean, he said the quarterback stared me down the whole way, but that wasn't his guy that the quarterback was throwing to.
It was not. No,
the quarterback was throwing right. So he was not threatened at all by his man. Eyes on the quarterback, saw what the quarterback was going to do. And as soon as that quarterback raised his arm, he was off to the races. So it has some playmaker to him. And then Marlon really helps this thing go too, Sarah, because if you need an outside corner, Marlon can move to the outside. And then that's where Keon Martin comes into play in the slot. Maybe you got banged up in the safety room and you don't want to move Kyle to the slot, or, stuff happens during the regular season. So I just think that Keon Martin, he was playing with the ones, quote unquote, during the preseason on that first team and looked like one of the better players on the field. And I think he earned it the old fashioned way. He earned it the whole way from a tryout player at the Ravens facility to, we'll put you on the 90-man roster, to here he is, pick sixes, safeties in the preseason. So shout out to Keon. You never know where these guys come from. They come out of the blue. As much as I love the draft and love to evaluate, the part that I like the most is the unpredictability factor. How did they fit in? Where do they go? Are they going to the Jets where they're just going to get lost, or you know what I mean? That kind of thing happens all the time. Players go to the right spot or the wrong spot. So yeah, if Keon Martin, I feel like there is a place for him as the seventh corner. Like you said, considering the durability of the others in the room and the importance of corners in a passing league.
Jason, you mentioned that he came off his guy to get that pick six. I love his personality too. It's not just his play, it's his personality. He was interviewed by Evan over at Ravens Productions afterwards, and here he is responding to that pick six.
In the quarterback, he looked me dead in my eyes. I didn't think he was going to throw it, but he threw it, and I'm just glad I caught it. They always say DBs can't catch, but I'm one that can catch. So I caught it, and then that was my first ever pick six, man. So that was a special moment.
Yeah, no better time to get one, and it's part of what's a pretty incredible story. How have you gone from being a rookie camp tryout to basically almost securing your spot on the 53, it would appear?
Just looking back, I just took advantage of every opportunity that I had starting in rookie minicamp. Every rep that I get, I went out there and I went 100%. And I always knew that I can come out here and play in the NFL. And once I started putting it on film, the Ravens, the coaching staff, Zio, Coach Harbaugh, they believed in me and they believed in my talent. And I'm grateful for the opportunity.
It just shows it doesn't matter where you come from. If you start putting stuff on film, the Ravens are going to give you a chance. This is, as you've said, a rookie tryout. They didn't even this wasn't like after the draft when all the scouts hit the telephones and they're like, we got to go get Keon Martin. No, nobody called him. He was trying out and he just made play after play after play.
I mean, I love the human interest aspect of sports, whether it's sportsmanship or overcoming trials like I expect our Ravens to do this year. And I don't know how he didn't get a little emotional when they asked him, how's it go? When Evan asked, how's it from a tryout
player? He paused for a second. He definitely was trying to take it in. Yeah.
He did, but he seems like he fits in. I mean, I don't know. He, like Evan said, it feels like he's a lock. It feels like Evan pretty much said, to almost securing your spot on the roster. Like he just showed up every single game, every single play he was in there. And, the cut up there, so you can see him, Sarah, when the camera's away from him, the quickness that he has, the ability to mirror receivers. And let's face it, when you're 5'9", 170, listed as 170, it's easier to get overlooked in the NFL with a game full of monsters. So he earned it the hard way.
You make a good point. They were acting as if he already made it because it seemed like such a lock. And then and I almost called you Bobby. Sorry, it's out of a habit here. But Jason, we've talked about the safety, maybe some tackles for loss, the pick six. But you know what has John Harbaugh going? It was this vice block in the
the jammer.
Game.
Yeah, he was the jammer. By the way, 39, Keandre Jackson, I think played really well this preseason too at safety.
Oh, okay.
Not a lot of talk about him.
Check this out. This guy's going nowhere. He is stopped dead in his tracks. This Commander's defender is doing nothing on this play.
We maybe should kick to Keon's side next time instead of on the right side there. Yeah.
There we go. Next time. All right, let's hit up safeties. I think we just have 2 more position groups, and we'll take a couple more super chats, and there's a couple questions for you if you can stick around for them.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Safety, we've got Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Stark, Sanusi Kane, and then we both went with a second undrafted rookie, Ruben Lowry, over the hometown kid, Bo Braid, who made the team last year, was a special teams contributor last year. But it just seemed that Ruben Lowry was always the guy from Keon was kind of a come from behind kind of guy. Ruben was one of those undrafted guys that everyone's been talking about from the beginning. What have you seen from him?
A little bit of everything from Ruben Lowry. And they weren't afraid to mix up his role. He wasn't just patrolling deep the whole time. We saw that interception in the end zone that he had pretty much from single high safety. I mean, he was in the post by himself and tracked that thing down and caught it in the end zone. But we've seen him move around to strong safety responsibilities and just a really solid, heady player. And, Bo Braid, I tweeted out as soon as I saw it, Sarah, when he came into the game on Saturday, he was at slot corner. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't just playing behind Lowry at safety. It was like, all right, Bo, let's see how you look at slot corner. And that to me was just a really bad sign for Bo Braid's chances. Not only do you not want to be in the game late, that last preseason game, but I'm playing behind others that are on the bubble with you. But to change positions like that, it's kind of tough. Now, Bo Braid, I believe that he made the initial roster last year. I remember a predicted
Mhm.
5 safeties, and they all 5 made it. But I think he bounced back and forth a little bit too, Sarah. Maybe you can correct me on this. Like, hopefully, Bo Braid sticks around. Is what I'm getting at.
Bounced around, you mean between the practice squad and the 53?
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I shouldn't have brought it up without knowing, but
Huh.
it just
Okay.
popped into my head. But yeah, hopefully Bo Braid can stay because he did show that he could run the alley, come up, hit. But I think as like pure free safety skills, Lowry's right behind Malachi and Kyle. Like Sanusi Kane is an enforcer, typical box safety. I think Sanusi has improved since last year on his ability to cover split field. Take cover 2, for example, to cover half the back end.
Mhm.
Sanusi has improved on that, but I would take Lowry over even Kane if you're talking about that pure free safety role, like maybe a Geno Stone type role for him on the team this year, where he's the direct backup to Malachi, so you can keep using Kyle like you want to use Kyle.
See, that's how much Ruben impressed is it didn't become a question of does he eke his way under the 53-man squad. It was more like, yeah, he's going to make it, but is he actually going to beat out Sanusi Kane as safety number 3? Kind of to your point. That's how good he was. And so that's kind of where we ended up with these 3 undrafted rookie free agents whose names were all in there.
It still hurts, Sarah. I want
Still
Jay
hurts.
Higgins on the team.
I know. We kept Lowry. We kept Martin. We didn't keep Higgins. Maybe the Ravens will find a way to keep all 3, or maybe they'll just keep 1. Who knows if we're right or wrong, but this is where we're at.
Another shout out to Jay Higgins. He really knows what he's doing at linebacker, and he's just one of
Yeah.
these, where most linebackers now it's a size and shape, and you got to learn how to play in the NFL. Like Higgins drops in coverage. He always seems to know what's going on all around him. Just an excellent football player. So it hurts not having Jay Higgins on my roster. I really want him to stick around.
And obviously on the specialists, you actually didn't send me your specialists. I just assumed we're on the same page. Tyler Loop, Jordan Stout, and Nick Moore. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Loop because he definitely has made all of Baltimore feel more than comfortable of handing over the reins to him. I think, just purely speaking football wise, this is massive shoes to fill with Justin Tucker. And he's done plenty more than I could even wish for as a rookie. During the preseason, he made field goals from 29, 36, 42, 46, and then check these out, 5 from beyond 50, 51, 52, 52, 53, and then the 61-yarder. He had 2 misses from 46 and 50, 8 of 8 on extra points. I mean, he's only going to get better. We won't know until the lights are bright. We'll be in Buffalo week 1. That's going to be his next test. He's been kicking in familiar territory, but with the challenges that have been put in front of him, I feel like he's passed with flying colors.
I've tried to stay as even keeled with this, Sarah, as possible because,
Mhm.
like you said, we won't know until the regular season. So when we got practice reports of misses, I was like, don't go there. We get practice reports of great practices, like don't get too excited. But there are certain things within the things that I liked about Tyler Loop. You mentioned the distance on these kicks, the consistency. That's number 1. Number 2, coming back after misses and hitting those field goals in the first 2 games. He went 9 of 11 overall, but whenever he missed a kick, he came back and made the next kick, and sometimes they were from further distance out. And then number 3, one thing that I was looking for this preseason is every time he kicks this year in an opposing stadium, it's the first time he's going to be kicking in that stadium until the playoffs. Maybe we go back to another place, but the sight lines are different. The turf is different. So he walked into Dallas and he walked into Washington and nothing seemed to phase him. The kicks were
Mhm.
straight and as long, the trajectory was the same. And that 61-yarder hit the net. It
Hit
didn't
the
sneak
net.
over the crossbar.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for Tyler Loop. He seems to have the right mentality. I'm sure he's got to be aware that he's replacing, with the greatest kicker of his generation. And nothing seems to phase him. And, when they released John Hoyland, it was phrased as, well, we needed a roster spot. John's great. We'd love to have John back. But they would not have done that if they weren't 100% confident that Tyler Loop was the person that they drafted and showed up even better. And it seems like he's really working on his technique, the GoPro. Randy Brown's only going to help him. It's hard to say this about a kicker, but sky is the limit for him. He's got the leg strength. I like what I've seen in the mentality. And again, adjusting to the new stadium because he's going to have to, week one, it's going to be the first time he's kicking in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a challenge. But I do like his odds and his ability to bounce back if anything does go awry. So that is it. That wraps up our 53-man roster predictions. We will get to a couple super chats and I'll let you go. But Tila, we are at 2,050 concurrents right now. Appreciate everybody for joining us live for this special episode. Hopefully we can keep screaming, maybe hit up to 2,100. But Jason, appreciate you being here to help with breaking this all down. Let's go ahead and get to some of these super chats before you take off. Eric says, I second that. DHB senior, meaning Douglas had said that we were good about recognizing our supporters. And so Eric is seconding that. Oh boy, how am I going to pronounce this?
Oluganyemi.
Okay, Jason. Okay, let's go with that one.
The draft helps. The draft helps, Sarah.
Okay, you are getting really good at that. But you know what? This is a question for you. He says, Jason, I got a question. If we could get a better QB3, would you be against cutting Leary? Shador? Question mark, question mark, question mark, maybe?
I like to keep it positive. I'm always super respectful to the players because they work so hard and they are the top of their profession. That being said, with Devin Leary, I'm not tied to him as the quarterback 3. I think that, the Ravens, you're lucky that we have the receivers you see on the screen right now with Flowers, Bateman, Hopkins, and the rest, that there wasn't a true battle for like wide receivers 4, 5, and 6, because I don't think Devin Leary gave those guys a true chance, the receivers he was throwing to, a true chance to really catch the ball. You even seen Tez Walker, the first ball was thrown way behind him. He had to haul it in there, down there in DC. But Shador, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't think we could keep him on the practice squad. Probably some other team would put him on the active roster. But I think that what would work in Shador's favor is if he went to a stable organization. Everything that's happening in Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns have been the Cleveland Browns. So everything they do is going to be questioned. The Ravens have that reputation as a stable organization. Or just say he went to Kansas City with Andy Reid or another, a successful organization. That would be a great spot for Shador. Now, he may not like it because he wants to start, but those kind of teams would be able to take him in without all that and be able to block out all the noise. Nobody's going to be calling for Shador to start over Lamar and let him develop as a quarterback. Snoop Huntley, another but like next time, this time next year in the preseason, Sarah, I want our wide receivers 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and however many to get some good looks at practice and not what we saw, especially that first preseason game.
All right, this is, I believe, the Sea King. He says the Packers fan talking ish in here is acting like his squad has any chance of even making the wild card. Worry about your own team, little bro. He's got the Sea King.
I like that you paid to say that.
Yes.
I like that you paid just to have that up there. That's
yeah.
weird.
These guys, they also pay to like troll me and Bobby all the time. Lots of fun stuff there.
I should get into that.
Yeah. Eric is back. He says, by the way, shout out to Oluguenemy. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
Something close to that. I'm butchering that. I apologize. He says, trucking or engine guy. I noticed that red machine behind you. Hashtag John 1513 King James version. Hashtag see you on the inside. Well, I'm going to have to look that up in just a second. Maybe I should know those scriptures off the top of my head, but I don't. Let's see here. The Flock Rundown says, just wanted to send some love to both of you. Keep up the great work, Sarah and Jason. I can't wait for the season. Go Ravens.
Hey, Ryan is a really good person. I got a chance to work with him finally after a couple of years. Very supportive to me, knows his ball. Thank you, Ryan.
Do you want to read this next one while I look up what John 1513 is?
Sure. Eric Silent, Knight Hill. Hypothetically speaking, who goes if they keep Higgins, Lowry, and Ruben? I'm guessing you mean Keon in there because Ruben and Lowry Ruben Lowry is one person.
Yeah.
Maybe Ajabo. Maybe they go with the 4 edge rushers.
Right.
And like what they say from like Kamen Rucker or Malik Ham obviously has stuck around for a little bit. There are a lot of defensive linemen, Sarah. That would be the argument for maybe we can get by without Najaba because we saw Matabike rush from the edge, with four rushers and we're just attacking the quarterback. We saw Travis Jones even line up at the edge. So maybe they say, look, when all else fails, we'll just go with that base 4-3 defense or the 4-2-5 nickel and load it up with defensive linemen. So that would be the scenario I would paint to you, Eric.
Yeah, and maybe and we don't know, but maybe they feel like, well, Adisa Isaac will be back by midseason, so maybe we can get by with 4 outside linebackers because we think we'll have Adisa back midway through. So there's that. John 1513. I should have known this. Greater love has no one than this to lay down one's life for one's friend. That's not the King James version. That was just off of.
It sounds very firefighter-ish, though.
Yes,
and,
doesn't it?
Unfortunately, we had a shooting outside of our house last month. It ended up being a guy got upset at the grocery store, followed my neighbor home, and unloaded on him. And I'm not getting graphic with this, but my wife was there trying to save the person's life. But you see the police officers that show up, Sarah. They're our kids' age, and I know this resonates with you as a mom.
Yeah.
And they go up on a scene that I'm not going to describe. But my wife was there and told me what happened. And it's just like, she's debriefing them and like after it was over and just making sure they're okay. So a ton of respect. I mean, there are good and bad in every profession, but these firefighters, police officers, first responders, I saw it with the Key Bridge last year, what these people have to go through to try to save lives and the trauma that like, I couldn't do it. I can do a lot of things that other people can't do, but I can't do that kind of stuff. I don't know how they do it. So, God bless you, Eric, and thanks for the verse.
Man, I'm so sorry to hear that happened in your neighborhood. I'm sorry that your wife had to witness it. I'm sorry for the victim.
She ran out there. She ran out there. That's just in her personality. Yeah.
She's in the medical field, I'm assuming?
She worked in labor and delivery. And as you can imagine, there's all kinds of tragedies in that field as well.
Yeah.
So she is one of God's strongest soldiers. I can tell you because I couldn't do it. It was 9 gunshots and she went over to it. So I wasn't too happy about that when I found out, but she's a trooper, man. My wife's the toughest woman I know.
Man, heroes right there. All heroes that you're talking about. At Max is Betha. Do you think Marion is better suited at corner, or is he talking about
Marlowe? Probably Marlowe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is Marlowe better suited at corner or safety? What position gets him on the team? Sorry if this was already asked. Okay, no, he's talking about Keon then, right?
Maybe Keon. Yeah, Keon Martin. Maybe Keon. Martin. Okay, Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that, Max. I think Keon, considering his body type at 5'9" and 170, was it listed? And he might, how they are. Well, he might not even be 170. That might be on a good day. I think that the slot can be a little physical for him, but if you're playing strong safety, you're asked to cover these big tight ends. And I think Keon's going to be on the field if he's asked to cover these shiftier wide receivers that they line up in the slot. And the Ravens have the luxury of being able to mix and match a bunch of different safeties. We have them keeping 11 DBs. So we'll have a shape and size receiver. We can match it on our team.
All right, we're going to finish up and get you out of here on this one. Our guy is back. He says, I'm a pump captain in North Louisiana. Stay safe. Okay, that answers Eric's question.
Stay safe, Yummy.
Yep. All right, well, Jason, appreciate you. I can't wait for Tuesday afternoon to see how close we might have been on all of this.
Can we get it once?
Can we? I don't think we've ever gotten the full 53.
No, you know what? And last year, I'm going to complain a little bit because they did not do the handshake with Brent Urban. So that's where my miss was on defense. And then when you did the same thing, right? The annual thing.
How could they break that tradition?
And then Ali turned his ankle or something in that last preseason game. We went on like right after the game ended, and I chickened out and put Chris Collier as the third running back instead of Ali. So that was my other miss. So we are due for a 53 out of 53, Sarah.
We definitely are due. In the meantime, Jason, why don't you tell everybody what's going on with you, what you can plug, where you are on Twitter, YouTube, all of that.
Sure. Hey, I'd love to hear from you guys on Wednesday nights. I take the summer off, but Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. It's Huddle It Up Films. And this Wednesday, Sarah's going to manage to get Sarah on there. This Wednesday is going to be fun because there's no game this week. So it's all hype about this regular season. And then, of course, during the season, I'm releasing scouting cut up. So we have a number of members of the Ravens flock community. Your coach Evans, your coach DC, your Cole Jacksons, who do in-depth breakdowns. Edgar Allen as another one. I go the other route. I do the self-scouting. I will do the scouting cut-ups, just like scouts are provided with in the NFL, and let you make your own. So you can see Keon Martin covering downfield and not just going over the splash plays. And that's what I provide from a content standpoint. Highlights of every single player, if you were looking for highlights, including offensive linemen. Pat Ricard's a popular one. So a lot different type of channel. But on Wednesdays, we get together and do the live thing at 9 o'clock. So I'd love to see some people in here get on that with us.
I'm excited to see you on Wednesday. By then, we will know if we are celebrating or irked that we didn't get the 53 correct. So, hey, appreciate you every year doing this with us. It's like we have our own traditions. We have this every year, and then we always do something together right before the draft. So we always appreciate your insight and everything you do. Best of luck to you, but I will see you Wednesday night.
Football's family, love you guys. Thank you, Sarah, so much, and shout out to Bobby.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jason. Man, I love that guy. Love that guy so much. And I've got some breaking news for all of you guys. Some really good breaking news. According to Jeff Zrebeck, Lamar Jackson has officially returned to practice. So all of the hand-wringing, the panic, all of that was going on. We all understand, right? We understand why the panic was there. It's Lamar Jackson. He is the face of the franchise. He is everything. He's our Super Bowl hopes. He's our playoff hopes. He's our MVP hopes. Without Lamar, the Ravens are going nowhere. So that is excellent news. John Harbaugh thought he would be back. He was correct. He left the door open for Lamar to opt out. Looks like Lamar has opted in. That is excellent news for all of us. So there's just one other topic I wanted to touch on. We'll do some quick hits, some final super chats, and then I've got to get out of here. And the topic that I wanted to address is Micah Parsons. Okay, this is obviously news that is completely taking over the NFL preseason. It has taken it over. There's some other stories. There's for sure other stories out there, but Micah Parsons and the deadlock that he's got with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys is just taken center stage. It got amped up a little bit over the weekend when the Dallas Cowboys had their third preseason game. Micah Parsons, while the team was out there playing, was laying on a training table, and he was asked what that was all about. He didn't want to be disrespectful to the players. I think he's obviously just trying to send a message to Jerry Jones. I mean, it's just crazy what's going on there. Micah has officially asked for a trade, and the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, Jerry's in the news like every day. He can't not help himself but do interviews all the time. And he accused, Micah Parsons' agent of saying, stick your offer up your, you know what. Micah Parsons' side is like, no, we absolutely did not say that. I mean, it's just a hot mess in Dallas, as it often is. Now, because Micah has asked for a trade, which honestly, I have my high doubts that's actually going to happen. There are people out there that are trying to project where he could be traded to. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN last week, at the end of the week, floated out a few teams that he thinks they could go to. Here's what he had to say on ESPN.
And our senior NFL writer, Fowler, try to get some answers to all of this. So you got Jerry Jones basically saying that Micah Parsons and his agent told him to take his offer and shove it where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
What more can you tell us about what really happened?
I'm trying to make sense of this in real time. I do know that agent David Mulugeta did not tell Jerry Jones that, so let's get that out of the way. I was told the Cowboys have received multiple trade inquiries on Micah Parsons. They are not entertaining those inquiries right now. They don't plan to trade him. It would take some sort of Herculean, Herschel Walker-sized offer for them to even entertain it. So If we take that off the table, that gives them the next, 10 to 12 days before the season to try to hash out a long-term deal. The people I've spoken to in Dallas remain optimistic that they can do that. I would say on the player side, not so much optimism. So they're going to have to find a sweet spot in the middle. If they were to entertain a trade, I mean, there would be interest. Like teams that make sense to me, at least, on the radar would be the Green Bay Packers, Arizona Cardinals, Baltimore Ravens, a play away, even some teams in Dallas's own division. But it looks like Dallas doesn't want to go that route. In fact, one team source mentioned this to me. They mentioned the Nick Bosa deal 2 years ago. He didn't sign until September 6th, played like 4 days later. It could be that type of under-the-gun situation where he gets a deal done week 1.
And they did the same thing with CeeDee Lamb. It was like right before the regular season game, CeeDee Lamb signed. And Jerry Jones, he says he loves the Cowboys. They're a soap opera 365 days a year. So he's loving this attention with the Parsons stuff. So we, of course, also have some breaking news.
Okay, so listen, Jeremy Fowler there mentions the Ravens as a potential trading partner, but he also before that mentioned that it would take a Herculean trade offer to make the Cowboys even really want to be interested. Okay, listen, I get the hype. I get why anybody in Baltimore would love to pair Micah Parsons and the defensive pass rushing monster that he is with Lamar Jackson on the other side of the ball. Who wouldn't want that? Sign me up any day of the week. That being said, I have to ask the question, is Jeremy Fowler or other people that mention it giving Ravens fans false hope? Remember, let's see here, on just over the weekend, Micah Parsons put out this Instagram post that says, believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. And who said that? Edgar Allan Poe. So our friend Kevin Ostreicher puts that up and is like, ooh, is that a sign that he wants to come to the Ravens? But then Kevin made fun of himself because he asked the same question when Devontae Adams, when he was a free agent wide receiver, or I can't remember, did he become a free agent? He was traded. I'm forgetting all the details of that now. But remember, he put up a post of Edgar Allan Poe's picture. So everybody's like, oh, is this a sign that he's coming to the Ravens? No, it wasn't for Devontae, and I definitely don't think it is for Parsons either, because Jerry Jones has a lot to say about it. O'Shea Jackson, who is the son of Ice Cube, he's like, man, if Micah Parsons goes to the Ravens, like we can all imagine it. It's like we're already talking Super Bowl bound around here. Add Micah Parsons. But here's the problem. Here's why it ultimately, in my view, is false hope. Okay, number one, Jerry Jones has to be convinced to let him go. I think Jerry Jones is completely happy to just sit there and force Micah to say, no, I'm not playing this year and I'm going to forfeit all that money. Plus you still have a franchise tag that you could slap on me. I think that Jerry Jones isn't batting an eye. I don't think he's going to let him go. I think Jerry Jones is messed up with the way he's handling this, the way he's made it so public, the accusations he's put out there, the fact that he won't even talk to Parsons' agent. I don't care that you and Parsons had some sort of conversation and that you guys both kind of agreed on a general idea. This is what's so ironic is when Lamar Jackson decided not to get an agent for his second contract, my goodness, how much he was criticized. Why? Because it's the norm. It's the norm for players to use agents because players are focused on football. They aren't focused on the contract details. They don't want to miss out on $1 million here or $1 million there, but with something crazy inside those pages and all this lawyer mumbo jumbo and all that. The vast majority of guys use agents. And Jerry Jones is sitting here saying, no, I'm not going to talk to an agent. What? He only wants 2 people talking? Okay, fine. Micah Parsons says he wants his agent to be that second person, not himself. So I think Jerry Jones is definitely messed up in the situation, but I don't see him even close to saying, yeah, I'm going to trade Micah. I don't think that's going to happen. And even if he did, let's say that a team did put in a Herculean effort or an offer. I think Samuel Njoku at Ravens Talk Pod hits the nail on the head. if the Ravens were to send, and it's going to have to be bare minimum 2 first-round picks, plus probably have to be Odafe Owe if we're talking about the Ravens, or another player that's of significance for another team that were to do it. Plus probably maybe 3 first-round picks, maybe the 2 first-round picks plus a player of significance, and then maybe a 3rd rounder and a 4th rounder and all these other ones that you kind of throw in. Then once you give up all those assets, now you're talking about paying Parsons, which right now he's going to beat the top 5 guys. TJ Watt and Myles Garrett are the 2 guys that got the latest money recently. Myles Garrett hit that $40 million mark. I mean, just a couple years ago, this is where quarterbacks were at. $40 million mark. And then TJ Watt got $41 million per year. He's going to surpass that. You're going to have to pay a deal for $42 million. So Samuel Njoku is absolutely right. If the Ravens do go out and sign him, say goodbye to Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, and Zay Flowers. Because I don't know that any of I don't know how much Zay Flowers is going to go for. But if you got Micah Parsons at $40 million per year, I just don't see how you can also pay all of these up and coming players. Meanwhile, some people are saying, well, Chris, I'm forgetting his last name. Is it Cooper? His name got cut off. He says Ravens saw this and are still talking about Micah Parsons, talking about Mike Green and his bend in his ankle and all that. And listen, Mike Green, I don't know what he's going to be. I've got a lot of hope in Mike Green. No, in no way am I saying, oh, Mike Green and Micah Parsons are like the same player right now. Mike Green has an uphill battle to get close to what Micah Parsons is doing right now. Hopefully he will. Hopefully he becomes that guy. So I still get why people are talking about Micah Parsons, but like the rest of it just doesn't fit. This morning, Dan Orlovsky was on Get Up with a crew, and he asked, he's like, it's a joke right now. He said it's a joke in Dallas right now, and he doesn't think Micah Parsons is ever going to play for Dallas again. I have my doubts on that, but if that's true, so then he asked Adam Schefter, he's like, why haven't the Ravens and the Bills called Dallas? Assuming that they haven't. And Adam Schefter said, because nobody believes that Jerry Jones is actually going to trade Micah Parsons. So there's so many obstacles to actually making Micah Parsons an actual Baltimore Raven. There's the Jerry Jones actually being open to it. Then if he is open to it, there's all those draft capital plus a significant player. And then after that, you got to pay him, which means say goodbye to some of your up and comers like a Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, or a Zay Flowers. So do I think when people like Fowler are out there saying, well, I guess if you're making me give you an answer, the Ravens, because that's what we do in the media, we speculate. I think he's giving false hope to Ravens fans by naming the Ravens and maybe some other teams too, because I just don't see him leaving Dallas. So there's my soapbox on that. Meanwhile, I've also gotten lots of questions. Okay, say like not Micah Parsons. Gotten lots of questions. Could Anthony Richardson, quarterback of the Colts, who was recently cut, was he cut? He wasn't cut. He just didn't win the starting job. Could he be the guy? Sure, I would like him. Let me Google, make sure I know what's going on, the latest with Anthony Richardson, because the details are eluding me right now. Should have had this ready before the show. Quarterback for so he's still with the Colts. So, he's not really available. Would I take Anthony Richardson over like Devin Leary? Of course. But no, would he be an upgrade to Cooper Rush? Maybe. Anthony Richardson hasn't been super impressive as a starter. So could he be a better backup? Maybe, but I don't see that happening either. So just lots of questions out there where people want to see other players. And I hate to be the person that rains on the parade. If we just want to continue to have fun with the idea and speculate of different guys coming here, have fun all the way. But if anybody's seriously thinking it could happen, sorry to be the one to put the clamps on that. Okay, anything else here before I get to quick hits? Let me check in on super chats before I get to quick hits here. Here we go. Sorry, he's already gone. Alugenemy. Jason's gone, but he says, Jason, thanks for the acknowledgement. We are cut from a different cloth. I'm thankful for our support systems. The vault helps when Sarah says my name right. Here we go. He says, LOL. Olu, Ogunyume. I'm going to take a picture of this in case you come back on another day and I can reference this. Check this out. I'm taking a picture of my phone. Let's get that so I can always have the pronunciation guide. Olu Ogunyumi. Did I get it? I think I did. He says, let's go Ravens. So I got you next time, Olu. I will have your pronunciation guide ready. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you sending love to Jason also. At Brian Walters, 8641. He says, was at the Ravens versus Cowboys preseason game. All positions played very well. Coop is a solid backup. I thought Cooper had a good finish to the preseason with the Cowboys. It wasn't a lot, or not the Cowboys versus the Commanders. It wasn't a lot, but I do think he finished well. So Eric is back. He says, I second what Ulu says. Hashtag 6K for LJ. Hashtag Voltrons. Hashtag 20 and 0. And then also Antone Conyers is our latest YouTube member. Thank you, Antonio, for joining us and becoming the latest member. All right, let's get to some quick hits, and then I will get out of here. News over the weekend is as the Browns, according to Adam Schefter, were releasing quarterback Tyler Huntley. He says Cleveland has been planning to keep its other 4 quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, on its 53-man roster. If you're asking me, should the Ravens go out and get Tyler Huntley? Are you asking for a third quarterback? Sure, absolutely. I don't think that he should come back as a backup quarterback. I think we've seen that movie. We've seen what he's able to do. I don't know for a fact how good Cooper Rush would be, but I've been saying even before the Ravens got Cooper Rush, I wanted Tyler Huntley or any backup to keep us around 500 if the Ravens need to stay afloat if Lamar goes down for a couple games. Tyler Huntley did not do that. Cooper Rush did do that in Dallas. Therefore, I put Cooper Rush above Tyler Huntley. But if he were willing to come back as a third-string quarterback, and he's got to be on the practice squad because numbers are tight, then sure. I just imagine he'd want to go somewhere else where he can compete for more playing time. I'll come back to that at a different time. I think I'm running out of time here. Shedeur Sanders, while we're talking about the Browns, did not have a great final preseason game. He had 5 sacks, 3 completions, and 2.3 yards per attempt at a net of negative 27 yards and 11 dropbacks. According to Warren Sharp, he says, for context, I have 9 years of play-by-play preseason stats. Shedeur Sanders is the only quarterback to take 5+ sacks on less than 15 dropbacks in any preseason game. So that's tough. Obviously, Shedeur played much better in the last game he was in. Jason gave some pretty good analysis on Shedeur. He, holding the ball too long. I feel like he drifts out of the pocket, making things even harder on his offensive line. I do agree with those that are criticizing Kevin Stefanski for not letting him continue and have like a 2-minute drill and try to rebound. Like we just talked about how Tyler Loop, even when he's missed, it's been nice to see him rebound. I would have liked to see Shedeur Sanders have more of an opportunity. Kevin Stefanski was asked in his press conference about people accusing him of sabotaging Shedeur. And I'll say this. I didn't like it when people were so quick to destroy Shedeur Sanders' reputation during the draft process. I hated that. People are just so careless with other people's reputations. They just don't even care. And I hated seeing that for Shedeur. All because of interviews or all different type of stuff. It's like, you don't need to go there. Equally, I will say with Kevin Stefanski, again, I think it's a different set of people who are rooting for Shedeur Sanders that might be too extreme and now accusing him of sabotaging him. I just don't like being so careless with reputations. I don't think Shedeur deserved it. I don't think Stefanski deserves it. Do I think that Stefanski could have given him more of an opportunity? Yes. They're treating him like a 5th-round pick, which is where they picked him as. I see him more closer to a 2nd-round pick, so I want to see him treated as such. But that's where we're at. I just don't like it when people are so careless with others' reputations. I hope Sanders can bounce back. It's probably, I feel bad for him. It's probably the last look we're going to see at him for a long time, just because there are so many quarterbacks. It's pretty clear that the Browns They've already said they're going to start Joe. Looks like there's still Kenny Pickett. Then there's Dylan Gabriel, who's probably ahead on the depth chart. That's how they're treating him. And then Shedeur Sanders, the way they're treating him is fourth. So we're probably not going to see him again for the rest of this year unless there's a cascade of injuries or people kind of really stinking it up on the football field. So I wish Shedeur well. I hope he continues to develop. And I mean, it's just a tough situation to be in for him. And I hope he finds his way to getting more opportunities. Meanwhile, his brother, Shiloh Sanders, who I believe was undrafted out of Colorado by the Buccaneers, he was waived per his agent Drew Rosenhaus telling Adam Schefter. And they told Adam, we're hoping he gets claimed on waivers. This is 24 hours after he was ejected from a game. He got into, I think he kind of punched. Is punch the right word when you do it with an open hand? Kind of like open hand hit a player who was blocking him incessantly. I don't know when the whistles blew and all that. So, but want to give a shout out to Shiloh. Hopefully he does get picked up on waivers and gets another shot at an NFL opportunity. Meanwhile, right before the show started, news broke. There was some drama in DC with one of their star players, but nowhere near hit the level of the drama in Dallas. But right before the show started, the Commanders and their veteran wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, they agreed to a 3-year extension worth up to $96 million. So Terry got the money he was looking for. The Commanders get to bring back a veteran presence for their second-year quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who had a nice moment with Lamar Jackson after the preseason game, gave each other a hug, gave each other some love. So that's a big, big deal for the Commanders. Big deal. They can move forward with one of their head guys. And meanwhile, the Eagles had like a trio of moves over the weekend. I mentioned earlier that they sent a 6th-round pick, a 2027 6th-round pick from the Packers in exchange for offensive tackle Darian Kennard, excuse me. This is very small print for me. Maybe I should make this a little bit bigger so I can actually read the name. I already have a hard time with names. I shouldn't make it harder on myself. Here we go. Let's see, that's not it. How about, where's the bigger one? Here, there we go. That'll help me see it. All right. They also got off offensive tackle Fred Johnson from the Jaguars in exchange for a 2026 7th-round pick, and then quarterback Sam Howell and a 2026 6th-round pick from the Vikings in exchange for a 2026 5th-round pick and a 2027 7th-round pick. So, I mean, Eagles were very busy over the weekend, always constantly trying to improve. And then there was this photo floating around. We know that the Ravens are celebrating their 30-year anniversary. Forevermore is going to be kind of one of the taglines. And then there's this photo floating around of a locker for the kind of, stages some of the greats like Jonathan Ogden, Ray Lewis, and Ed Reed. But a lot of people love seeing in the Ray Lewis era his old, Baltimore B logo on the helmet. People are really hoping that they can do a throwback to that, hoping the copyright stuff is worked out. I don't think so. I think they're maybe just showing what he wore in his first year. Is that what's going on? I don't know, but I wouldn't hate it. So there we go. I think that is my last quick hit. It is indeed. So that should wrap things up. Let me see if there's any more super chats. Already said that one. Okay. Nope. I think we are all caught up. Let me see if Bobby hooked me up with our patrons. Want to give a shout out to them. Our patrons, Chris Gagnon and J Fresh 0824. We appreciate you guys for supporting us through the patron community. We couldn't do any of this without all the support. I mean, all these super chats, the patrons, or just if you're watching, if you're subscribing or liking, all of it helps us out immensely. We just are so appreciate all the supporters that we have. Special thanks to Jason, or Huddle, as you guys all call him. I always love his analysis. I just know that he is, in the lab all the time, really going through the film and looking at everybody from, a scout's eye, a scout's point of view. So I always love his perspective on everything Ravens. Hopefully we can collaborate more. Bobby and I have been talking about bringing in different YouTube film study creators, like once a week, maybe say like if we have a game on Sunday, bring them in on Tuesdays and they bring in maybe the top 3 or 4 plays and kind of break it down for us. There's so many good film guys. There's Jason, there's Cole Jackson, there's all 22. And then there's Coach Evans. And so I think we're looking in to see if a couple of those guys want to join us weekly, say on Tuesdays, just to kind of dig more into the film and kind of get their view of different things going on. So until then, though, Bobby and I will both be back tomorrow. I think Bobby is back in New York. I think he took a red eye or something because he landed early this morning, but it has to go through trains and all that kind of stuff to get home. So we will see him tomorrow, and I hope I will see you tomorrow. Hey, this is finishing out a strong day, Tila. We are at 2,200, over 2,200 concurrents watching us live. Love you guys. Love your support. Appreciate you. And I will see you back here tomorrow at noon for your Vault noonday live stream. See you then. Have a good one.